Welcome everybody. Jessica, welcome. Hi. Can you do me a big favor and let me know that you can hear me okay? I have my little ear buddy things in and I want to make sure that the audio is good. Um, the jackhammering is still happening. Can somebody just let me know that you can hear me all right? I want to make sure these earbuds aren't interfering with the audio. Yes. Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. Thank you, Kat. Okay, so this jackhammering, it's been a day, and this construction that's going on right down. I've been talking about it, but the construction is it's been all day. It started at like 8 o'clock in the morning and has gone constantly with no breaks. And it ties in so perfectly with today's message. And it has put me in a place of having to do some work today because there have been moments where I literally thought I was going to freak out and just march my way down there and tell them to stop jackhammering. But it is so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that it goes on all day and into the nighttime. And it amazes me that there's no rules around that. There's rules around construction during season here, so it doesn't disrupt tourists' experience. But yet, when it comes to the locals, it's they don't mind screwing with the locals' nervous systems and their peace every single day. So, thank you for letting me get that out. I want to start first by just recognizing and all of us tuning in to one of our community, our friend. She's become a very good friend of mine, and it was because of the daily tune ins, and we connect every week. And our friend lost her son yesterday morning. And I've been talking about her here and there and asking for donations because her son was in a really compromised state, and we were looking for adult diapers. And this community stepped up. I've had a couple of people who have reached out and wanted to support. And there's a different kind of support that's needed now. And that support is helping to help her support the memorial service and the honoring his wishes of being cremated and distributed here on this planet. So if you could just take a moment to just close your eyes and bring our I am presences together, because this is such a powerful form of healing. And know that in this space where our friend is, it doesn't matter who, it just simply matters that it is someone that we recognize as a being of light that is getting one of the hardest lessons that we can learn in human form. And in this moment, if you would, connect your I am presence in with the connection and the communal space that we are in, and see it surrounding a beautiful consciousness who is in deep need of our light. And in this light, we send her so much love. We send her so much peace. And as we go through this peace talks, we keep connected with her. And any rise in our energy together, and any rise in our frequency, in our emotional state, as we rise into peace together, we continually send her our peace, our love, our consciousness. And in this moment, I ask the divine creator, Gus, God, universe, spirit, to spread your blessings on this family, to allow them to understand little by little, moment by moment, the connection between the physical and the unseen even more. Allow the magic of this ascension, this beautiful soul that has ascended, to show us, to teach us what this ascension process is all about. I give great thanks. I give great love. And in connection with all of those, whether on the live or on the recording, sending love and sending our highest care and our highest vibration of peace to this family. For I know it is already done because my words make it so. And as I say abracadabra, I leave it be, I let it be, and so it is. Open the storehouse. So, crisis has been, actually, I want to do, I just got a text. So I want to, sorry, y'all. I'm feeling a little frazzled. Um, because of I'm going to blame it on the jackhammering, but I feel a little frazzled because the crisis energy has been around, and I did an Instagram live this morning because three different people were texting with me. I was texting with three different people literally throughout the night who were in crisis, and I was just holding space for them. One of them was Bud, and just to give you the update on that, so we can kind of keep the context, keep understanding what all of this is meaning in physical form. He is, he, for weeks he's been reaching out to people knowing he's going back to San Diego and trying to find just a temporary place for a month. And he's found a few different, I mean, he reached out to about 20 different people. Most of them were scams. It was through, Marketplace and through Craigslist, and Airbnb is kind of heightened pricing. So he was staying away from Airbnb and just finding not a rejection, but just scam after scam. And he was getting really frustrated. And literally the day that he left, he was in connection with a woman who was super stoked. It was a really cool place. And we were going through the process, and it was just an eye opener, because just to rent the place for a month so that he can have a place to stay while he looks for a permanent place for both of us, he had to go through the rental application just to be accepted, to be able to even rent it for a month. And it was all the 3D stuff, right? And when you live unconventionally in this 3D world, and what I mean by that unconventionally is we don't have like the conventional bullet points of creditors. We haven't had creditors for a long time. He's always lived he's always lived unconventionally. I've lived a very conventional life, so I have experience there, but Bud has not. So he has always been a dude that like lived off of cash. He was the guy when I met him. He still took his paycheck to the bank, cashed it, kept the cash, and literally paid cash for everything. He didn't have a bank account because he just didn't believe in all of that stuff and never needed it, and just lived life. So he didn't have all the things. He doesn't have credit because he never needed credit. He just paid for what he could. And I actually really respected that. I didn't even know people were living like that still when I met him. I was like, how do you not have a checkbook? Like, how do you function? He's like, I just pay cash for things, He doesn't buy things online. So he was just always different. And I really embraced a lot of that. And we started to live like that. So for the last 4 or 5 years of my life, we don't have all the things. So filling out this rental application made no sense to us. And he explained it to the lady. But here's the thing. Explaining an unconventional life to someone who is still very in the conventional box of living, it doesn't make sense. It was like me trying to make sense of Bud, but because I loved him when I first met him, I like listened and understood how he lived life. But for so many, they don't understand what it's like to live an unconventional life. So it looks shady, I would imagine. I don't even know. But anyway, so Bud filled out all the paperwork. He left here, got on the plane, and when he got, and I mean, she called people. She called his friend Danny, who he put as a reference, and Danny gave her a beautiful reference. And when Bud landed, she left him a message and just said she couldn't rent to him. Just like that. So the guy got into San Diego after 24 hours of flying, is jet lagged, and had no place to stay. Thank God for the blessing of his friend, who knows people, and his friend had a place that Bud could stay in for 2 nights because it was a vacant house and he could stay there, but they had somebody. It was an Airbnb house, so they had to rent it last night. So Bud had to be out of the house yesterday. So by the time he had to be out, it was my nighttime, and he was in the same process. He cannot find a place to get into. It's like this weird thing. And the whole time, all night, he's texting me being like, babe, I'm sitting in the rain, literally sitting in the rain because he had to get out of the house. I don't know where he was, but I'm just imagining him in the rain with these 2 bikes and his stuff all around him. And my heart was so heavy. And then I'm heavy about my friend who lost her 25-year-old son. And I'm just like grieving for her, grieving. And another friend that was texting me also in crisis and in a different way. So I had all of this energy that I was holding for people last night, and it was so intense. And this energy of crisis was just it was heavy. And yet I took it on. Not that I took it on, but I wanted to be there. This is the role. When we say in the daily tune-ins, for a long time we've been saying there's going to come a point where we are the ones that are in support. And this last night was that night. I was the front line of energetic support for people that I love and people that I respect. And I'm willing to be that. And yet this morning I was so tired and I was like, man, this whole energy of crisis, what is going on? And I sat with it, which came to the point of today's peace talks. As I sat with it, I knew I needed to fill myself up. And I went into my spiritual studies, and I did the next class. And I will tell you, y'all, I am being filled so much that I know I have found my path again. And when I was on the ministerial path or the spiritual practitioner pathway years ago, before I went through divorce and before I had a hiatus in my studies, it was so easy for me to tap into these studies, to go to and at that time where I was going to classes and I was communing with people that were in these classes with me. And that part of my life, even though the outside of my life, my marriage was a mess and financially everything was a mess, but in that space of my life, oh my God, I just knew I was meant to do it. The things that came so naturally, I understood these principles. And in that time in between, I have been able to practice these principles, these spiritual principles, to be able to do this pole shift of living from the physical space into the spiritual space. So as I step back into these studies again, and now doing them online, which is such a blessing because I get to do that now in this space of the space between, in this transition time. This is I now have time, and I now have the space to really throw my whole soul into it. And I'm just reminded again what it feels like to be in our aligned path. And it is so filling. And as I went through the message today, it was like, oh my gosh, it couldn't have been more perfect. Because I want to just first remind you, I talked about this on the reading yesterday that I did. And the reading was about the creative fires are burning. And as we've stepped through this doorway of last week, there's something happening that is really, really intense. And it's bringing on this crisis. And at the same time, it's bringing on this burn of creativity. It is spreading. And when I say creativity, I am meaning creativity is the channel of unique messages that we each get that lights up a fire in our belly. Those are the supernal channels. It's the heavenly channels that we are here to tune into. Each of us has our own supernal channel because these are the unique messages that come from source, that come from God, Gus, universe, spirit, creator, whatever you want to call it. It comes from our creator, and it's divinely specialized for us. And as we've reached through stepped through this doorway, these channels are really opening up. These are our supernatural channels. And these are the channels that are taking us in and leading us down the pathway of our own unique heaven on earth. However, here's what's also happening. So if you haven't watched that reading, I think I put it in the, I'll put, if I haven't already, I thought I had pasted the link, but otherwise it's on my YouTube channel. It was a really good reading. When I was done, I was like, I was overflowing, and you can tell. And it was an exciting reading. And as exciting as it was, then I moved into the next few hours of time, and I was met with crisis. And this is what happens. This is what we have to be aware of. As we step through a threshold into a higher expression, just as I said on the Instagram Live today, we step into another pool of energy, and we disrupt that energy for a minute. Our energy entering into a new energy, it creates chaos. It disrupts things. And that chaos can come in the form of crisis. It comes in the form of chaos. Really, is there no other word that I think is that works here? And as we enter into that chaos, that is where we go to work. That is where we go to work to heal our supernal channels. Again, the next level. So if you imagine, here's how I imagine it, and this isn't like official, but if our supernal channel goes from where we are here and we rise up here in this new space, there's still distortions, right? So we have to clear out those distortions as well. Those distortions are higher levels of distortions, of densities. So when we stepped through and we disrupted things, it disrupted and shook loose the next level of densities. And it starts, and those new higher frequencies start to not only do they give us a clearer channel once we cleanse and clear the channel, but they also give us a higher level of crisis, of chaos. So as far as we go up and rise up into those higher levels of love and peace, we are also taken down to the lower levels of fear or sadness or grief. So we have to be prepared to ride this wave of chaos when we ascend into a higher level. That's what is happening. So the only thing that's happening right now is we are being given the next level of intensity of distortions to cleanse and to clear. And Lord have mercy, some of us have some really, really big, distortions. And when I say that, of densities of grief now. Our friend has a huge level of grief to be able to manage, to learn from. And at the same time, what I know for her and what I just keep holding in my heart for her is, wow, when this wave after wave after wave passes, the freedom that she is going to experience is going to be way, way higher than she can ever expect, because she's being taken so low into the depths of grief, that when she clears that, and she clears layer by layer, and she knows what she's doing, you all, you know what you're doing. If you are here, it's because you know what you're doing. We have figured this out. And I don't mean like we're the experts. We've figured it out and we know what's happening. So our friend is now positioned to rise so high, to have the most blissful experiences. But first, we've got to get through those distortions. And that's what I just kept texting to Bud last night. I said, honey, don't drown in this. Don't drown in this frustration. This is what's happening. You know what's happening, but here's what's happening. Again, I'm going to remind you again. This is all part of it. So there's something I want to remind you. that I was reminded of in my spiritual studies, and in the reading from yesterday, I was reminding all of us that this human physical experience is only 1% of our consciousness experience. So individually, we have these bodies, we have these five senses that we can see and touch our reality, but it's only being able to see and touch, taste and hear and I'm missing one, see, touch, hear, whatever, you know what I'm saying. The five senses, it's only 1% of what our is accessible to our experience. And the jackhammering just stopped. I just felt so much peace. I don't know if y'all can not hear it now, but holy Moses, I was just like, why do I all of a sudden feel at peace? And my nervous system isn't freaking out. The 99%, the 99% of our experience is the spiritual experience. It's the spiritual part of us. That is what we are getting to. When we do that pole shift, we have the world, we have the universe at our backs. We have the universe and the energetics of it that is sustaining us so that it funnels down into the physical experience. And the 1% of us is not able, the 1%, the physical part of us is not able to communicate in the supernal channels. The 1%, our human self, is not the part of us that communicates with that divine channel. It is only the 99% of us. It is only the spiritual part of us that has the capability of communicating. But when we operate from that space, then it aligns the physical and it drips down and sustains the physical so that the physical 1% of our experience is then able to touch and feel and have tangible evidence of these supernal channels that speak to us. So I want to share something that I love, and I texted this to our friend who is deeply moving through her life experience. We talked about the stepping through the doorway, that there were endings, right? We talked about that last week in the peace talks, and there was some grief. And when a door closes, there's grief and there's an ending. And what I learned today, or what I was reminded of today, is at the end, at the beginning, and at the end of a cycle of a life. Now, I'm not just talking about physical life. We are talking in the spiritual realm right now. We're talking about the 99% part. And there's part of this in the physical, but we're talking about, remember, the life, death, life cycles. The evolution of a soul has consistent cycles of one form, one part of our existence, a chapter that begins and then it ends, and then we begin again. And if you look at your life, you can probably see these chapters of your life. So you've had these life, death, life cycles. And we have just entered into a new beginning last week, literally, energetically, literally. And when we also had an ending. But what happens at the beginning, at the end, we get double the light. We get double the light. And there was a story shared on my spiritual studies today. And there's a prophet, and he's talking to a student, and a student is just taking in all of the light. This prophet is light, meaning knowledge and wisdom. And the student's like, prophet, teacher, I want to know more. Give me double the light. And the prophet says, I can't give you that in this time together. The only time I can give you double the light is when you are with me. And if you are with me in my last breath, because it's only in that moment that I have to give double the light. And I just sat and I cried so hard this morning. And I sent that to my friend. And I said, lady, you were sitting with your son in that very moment that he took his final breath. And his final gift to you was double the light that he was ever able to give. And you were there and you've received it. And for all of us, whatever we said goodbye to, whatever doors closed, whatever grief or sadness we may have been feeling or are feeling, it's because we are receiving double the light. And doesn't it feel that intense? That's what's creating this chaos. That's what's creating crisis, because we are being just bathed in the light of this ending so that we can calibrate to a brand new beginning that is also giving us double the light. So we're getting like quadruple the light that we normally have. And our bodies are feeling it. Our hearts are feeling it as we take in this light consciously and understand this process. It expands our hearts. It expands our minds. Our mind is now expanding to look into even more. The physical 1% of us understands what we're doing here now. So it is also growing. But at the same time, we have got to stay. It is the part that is seeing the reality around us falling apart or not going our way. It's seeing the chaos, but the 99%, the spiritual part of us is saying, be patient, be loving to yourself. Just ride this wave out, ride this crisis out, because it is short-lived. And once it is cleared, the next layer of our supernal channel is completely cleared so that we receive even more clarity in the messages we receive. We step into a new opportunity for spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening doesn't just happen once and then we go on the journey. It keeps happening. Spiritual awakening is the constant calls of spirit to us through our channel. And when creation happened, this is not, if you've been taught in traditional religion, this is probably not going to fit into the narrative. But when the Creator made our world, it made it imperfect, because the purpose of this world were for humans to come in and do the work, to go to work. And what happened is some humans were like, I don't want to do that work, so I'm going to enslave the rest of people to do the work for me, and I will take the abundance and the prosperity for myself. But it still meant that those who were enslaved still did the work to free themselves. And October is freedom. This is where we step out of that enslavement. We've talked about that. And that when we first get the call to awaken, it's when our physical body, our physical self can't get that call. At a certain point in our existence as a human being, the spiritual being is called. And the Creator dials us up and goes, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. Vedette, you're being called to service. You're being called. And that happened for me years ago in 2008 in Charleston, South Carolina, sitting on a beach after the night before, walking in on my husband with another woman, being like, what am I going to do? I've written about this in my book. And I sat on that beach and I just cried, and I didn't have any connection. I had zero spiritual connection at that point. But I had enough of it from my upbringing in Catholicism. And I just prayed. And I said, I don't even know what to believe anymore with God, but I've got nothing else to turn to. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to turn to family. I didn't want to tell friends. I was so alone. And the only thing I knew to do was just pray. And I did. And that was the first time I heard the message come through. And you know what the message was? It was, What part of this can you own? Spirit was asking me to look at this situation with my former husband from a place of, what part of this is yours? And the ego was like, none of it, because I didn't choose to be a dick. I chose to. But when I started to, immediately I started to see how we had gotten to this place and such a separate space of relationship, that I started to kind of understand more. And it blew my mind wide open. How can I be a victim of this? How can I be a victim and yet be asked to see a different way? That put me on this path. And what I've come to learn is it wasn't just that one moment that was an awakening. The awakening happens over and over and over again when we are called to do something. I keep talking about the call that I got in Austin to sell off everything and to come on this journey that Bud and I have been on in Eastern Europe. It wasn't supposed to be Eastern Europe. We thought it was going to be in Spain. But Spirit brought us on a completely different journey, because we just kept getting a call to go here, to follow this. And that call is not logical. The mind, the 1% of us, cannot understand these calls. Only the 99% of us, the spiritual part of us, is the one that receives it through the supernal channels. And the work that the Creator gave to us when we came here, what the original intent for this human experience was, the work it was meant to give us is to heal our channel, so that we could heal the communication and free ourselves from the imperfection of the world. The imperfections were the pain and suffering that we would find along our pathways. And isn't that now the momentum? Isn't that now the place that we are in this mass awakening? More and more people are getting the call now, and they're hearing a different voice that says, are you done with this experience yet? Are you done with this relationship that you have just it's been abrasive for how many years? Are you done with this job that just keeps demanding more and more and taking you away from your family? Are you done chasing money? And are you ready to embrace a different experience of life? And what many people don't understand yet, that we understand a little bit more, is that the spiritual way of the different unconventional way of life is living from that 99% that puts so much wealth and richness in us, because the experience of working through these densities and these challenges and the chaos to clear this channel, and the more we keep clearing the channel and getting more and more of the messages from Spirit, we start getting a spiritual awakening multiple times a day, because Spirit calls us and says, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep. All right, Badette, you've sat in crisis all night. It's time to turn on your spiritual studies. Oh, okay. And didn't I get the message exactly that I needed to hear, that filled me this morning, that gave me the inspiration for today's peace talks? And the messages that I get through my channel is the exact thing that I uniquely have to bring, that you uniquely have to bring, in order to heal. And he kept using the word fix, which I was resisting, because we're not here to fix things. But what he was saying is to heal the planetary supernal channel. And it's just like we say, when we are the light, we then heal the light for the entire planet. So if we ignore the calls that we get from within to serve, if I ignored the call last year when I was in deep, deep sadness and depression to do the daily tune-ins, that was not a thought from my 1%, because remember, the 1% isn't tuned into the supernal channels. That was my spirit. That was my an awakening coming in saying, "Sweet soul, we need you to come to work now. We need you to do some work." It's called this daily tune-in thing. And I started it. I answered the call as hard as it was. And yet it brought me to each of you. It reunited me with people in my life that had meant so much to me. And I'm now nurturing a new part of my life now because I'm healing relationships. It brought me to my friend who lost her son, and I'm able to be here for her. I'm able to help and serve in a way I could never have if I had ignored that call. So from the reading yesterday, the message that poured forth for us was that as we've stepped through that doorway, the creative fires are burning. The spiritual awakening, the messages are coming forth, flooding in for each of us. It's the thing that causes the burn. The burn is how we answer the call. It's how we pick up the phone, right? Spirit sends us a unique message, and something just flew down. Sends us a unique message, and it lands here, and we answer the call. We're like, "Yeah, Spirit," and they're like, "Oh, you need me to do that? All right." And at one point, I went silent, and I finally got the call. There's this thing called peace talks I need you to do. Ah, okay, sounds pretty cool. And while you're at it, I also need you to step back into your spiritual studies because I've got some messages that I need to send through to you, but you have to understand this on a different level. So I'm going to send you exactly what you need to not only logically learn and apply this spiritual knowledge, but also I need you to learn it as you deliver it. I need you to teach it as you learn it. That's what these peace talks are. I get to learn, and then I get to take that learning and put it into some practical applications because I understand this process, and I get to share it. That is my supernal channel coming in my unique way to help you and to serve you to also clear out the densities and the crisis and the chaos and help you understand that so that you can then answer and filter, or filter out and clear out your supernal channel. And when you do that, we then expand the supernal channel for our entire planet and for all of humanity. We have to answer these calls of each and every awakening that we have. The awakening takes us to a higher level. And last week, we were taken to a huge ascension into a much higher level of living, of frequency. And I know that there's a lot of chaos right now. I'm feeling it. My body is feeling it. And at the same time, we know, I'm reminding you what we are remembering over. This is a cycle. We keep getting reminded of this over and over and over again. This is a cycle. This is part of it. The chaos is just a sign that we have ascended to an even higher level. We're going to ride this wave until it balances out. And then from that place, we are a clear channel. And whatever we're called to do from that level, from that frequency, we do it because it's answering the call, and we're helping out the greatest the greatest creator of all. And we are, each of us are, it's workers. Can you imagine when you get an idea or you get a call? For so long, many of us were like, "Oh, that's a crazy idea. That sounds cool. That makes me excited." But who am I to do that? No one in my family ever did that. But now when I look back on that, how long I did that, but I wasn't ready yet. Spirit kept calling, bring, boop, 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 boop. I need you to do this. And I'm like, oh, that would be really good. But I got lots of laundry to do, and I got to go to work tomorrow, this crappy job that I hate. But the whole time, Spirit was calling me to get out of that crappy job. It was calling me to do what it needed me to do so I could exit and liberate myself from these jobs and from these relationships. And I just kept ignoring it until finally it got so painful that there was no other option but to say, okay. But now when I look at that, I'm like, boy, I was hanging up on old Gus up there in here. Gus is all around, but Gus was calling me from within. And I kept going, boop, I'm going to hang that phone back up. I'm going to hang that connection back up until finally I answered it. And then I was like, oh, that kind of worked out. And then another spiritual awakening came, because at every layer of ascension, and I say layer or level, it's not really the word I like, but you get it. With every dimensional reality we're in, there's another awakening that awakens us to then ascend again. And when we ascend, there's the chaos. And when we manage the chaos, we then have some time in there to do the work that we are here to do to help heal the supernal channel for the entire planet, for humanity. This is a gift. Priya, your licking is not a gift at the moment. So this is our opportunity. These crises that many of us are in, that we're finding ourselves in, it just means it's because we're getting double the light right now. And when we know that, we know what a gift it is. We remember. We're being awakened to the next level, and we get to do this together, you all. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be healing this, to doing this work with you all. It's not easy. And it's not easy being unconventional and swimming against the masses. We're still doing that, but eventually the masses get their spiritual awakening and they start turning, and then we all start flowing in a unified way. But there has to be those of us who are swimming in the opposite direction, who are still filling out the rental applications, being like, you get how like ridiculous this is, right? Helping to just plant seeds in those who haven't awakened yet, and to just reveal a little bit more of what's concealed in those that are still swimming against the natural flow, the natural order of who we are, that are living in that 1%. We know how painful that is. And we know, and we're learning every day with every call that comes in and every call we answer. And the higher we get into our supernal channels, we know how amazing it is. And the beauty that comes as every time we answer a call, every time I get a call to get on one of these 3 times a week, I know that the payout from the karmic storehouse are unexpected blessings. That is what sustains us. That is what spirit gives us in return for our efforts. What we have as we manage through these crisis points, we are then opening ourselves up to receive unexpected blessings beyond what this 1% mind can even, it wants to be paid, right? That's how we know it. But the universe is like, paid? I got payment for you, and it's going to be unexpected, and it's going to be beyond your wildest imagination. And it is up to us to hold the faith and hold our hearts open to receive. So in this crisis point, remain open, receive this double light, knowing that the unexpected blessings are the payout and are to be expected, because we will see them. And that is what delivers our heaven on earth. I hope you've heard this message. I hope it goes deep, because it has gone deep for me today as I've sat with it. And even sitting with it, with the chaos in my environment here, it has still run very deeply. So thank you for letting me share this spiritual awakening, this awakening that I've had today, and this beautiful energy that has flowed through me. Thank you for being part of answering my call. And I just simply ask you to answer the call, whatever is being called forth within you, no matter whether or not your mind wants to embrace it. Answer the call, because we need you. We need you. Thank you all so much. Please hold our friend in your hearts. Let's beam out so much beautiful love and light to not only her, but to every single human being who is experiencing crisis, who's experiencing fear, who's experiencing grief or sadness of any kind. In this fullness of heart and in this fullness of mind, in this fullness of spirit, as a community, I just simply ask that this gets beamed out to our entire planet, all the way down to the crystal core, so that it then it feeds through our planet to every being here, as well as Mother Nature and our planet itself. We have healed a part of the supernal channel for our entire planet in this time together. Thank you for being a part of that, sweet souls. So much love to you. Mwah. Take care.